Hey guys, welcome back to Mo's Game Table. Today we're going to take a look inside Gandhi, the Decolonization of British India 1917 to 1947. This is a game designed by Bruce Mansfield and published by GMT Games. It is volume 9 in the Coin series, which is a long-running and very popular series for GMT. And I'm sure everybody by now is pretty familiar with this series. But this one is going to be a little different because non-violent factions are in use here. So different design aspect has been added to the coin system, and it's something great. So let's take a look at the back of the box. It says here, India, the jewel and the crown of the British Empire. 1917. The British Empire was one of the largest and most powerful empires in history. At the center of the empire was India, one of the world's great classical civilizations. British rule over India seemed absolute, unchallenged since the defeat of the 1857 rebellion. Yet only 3 decades later, the mightiest empire in the world would be humbled and India would become a free nation. It was not armed conflict that freed India, but Gandhi's radical doctrine of nonviolent resistance. Gandhi gave Indians an effective method to disrupt the oppression of colonialism. Nonviolence challenged the legitimacy of British rule and proved the futility of repressing a nationwide movement with military force. Volume 9 in the Coin series gives 1 to 4 players the opportunity to steer the history of India. The British Raj seek to retain their control over India by maintaining the support of the populace, without which their empire cannot stand. Gandhi and the Indian National Congress plan to break the Raj hold on India through widespread opposition to British rule. The Muslim League is torn between supporting their Congress allies and establishing an independent state for Muslim Indians. And the revolutionaries have rejected nonviolence entirely, adopting the classic tools of insurgency to sow unrest across India: violence and terror. Gandhi weaves together historical, political, and cultural threads and offers an opportunity to study nonviolent and violent resistance as the age of European imperialism begins to unravel. Gandhi adopts the same card-assisted system of earlier coin volumes to the unique features of nonviolent resistance. Solitaire players can test their skill against an innovative new system. With short and long scenarios to fit any playtime, Gandhi is a thorough exploration of nonviolent movement in India. Hind Swaraj. And that is a look at the map that comes with the game, the cards, and some counters that you'll get with the game. It comes with a 22 by 34 inch mounted map, 137 wooden pieces, 103 playing cards, 1 full color counter sheet, rulebook, playbook, 4 player aid charts, 2 reference cards, and 4 6-sided dice. It is rated 9 for solitaire and 5 for complexity. And we'll take a look inside the box, the big 3-inch box that it comes in, and it is heavy. Take a look inside and see what you get. And it is nice tight seal here. All right, we've got our rule book, playbook, counter sheet, and yes, this is the counter sheet. There's not a lot of counters in this game compared to other coin volumes. Got our player aids, our map, wood bits, dice, cards, and baggies. So let's set up the map and take a look at the game. All right, so here is the map for Gandhi. I had to lay it sideways because I don't have the ability to show it all in frame here. Unfortunately, the way my table's laid out, I can flip it around real quick so you can get an idea, better appreciation of what the board looks like when you're facing it straight on, but you're not going to be able to see all of the board and all of the holding boxes and sequence of play and things like that. But this gives you a better idea of what the map looks like, the entire area of India, and now you can see all the holding boxes, the state of India here where there's unity, resistance, and available protests, Muslim League, available forces, Indian National Congress here, and then the British Raj down at the bottom right here, your sequence of play over on the far side, and then your revolutionary available forces below that. The legend is in the middle of the map as well, but beautifully done map. Just like all the coin maps are just really beautiful works of art. And we'll take a look at our player aid cards. First is the sequence of play that explains to you how to use the event card. First eligible faction, second eligible faction, then adjusting the eligibility, and then you go on to the next card, explains how to work through the campaign cards. Then you have the campaign round non-player instructions when you're playing with the bot. Here is the non-player aid card. This is for use with the new bot, which we'll come back to in a moment. This is the player aid for all 4 factions in the game. You have the British Raj, the Muslim League, Indian National Congress, and on the back you have the revolutionaries. And it's worth looking at the differences now because of the non-violent factions. You have coin operations, special activities. They're the same for all 4 as far as the ability to do so, but they're different, as we'll see. You have deploy, garrison, sweep, assault, for coin operations for British Raj. Then you have treaty, govern, martial law for the special activities. You look at the nonviolent factions and you have rally, demonstrate, civil disobedience, non-cooperation, persuade, satyagraha, and negotiate. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. If I'm not, please post down below. We have rally, demonstrate, civil disobedience, non-cooperation, and negotiate, infiltrate, and persuade for the Muslim League. And on the back, we get to rally, march, attack, unrest. We get to your standard coin activities where there's combat involved, aid, infiltrate, and assassinate for the revolutionaries. But you have 4 of those, 1 for each faction. And the player aid here for the non-player aid, or for the non-player player aid card, I should say. This will walk you through the new bot, which uses tables and cards. So you're going to have cards for each faction, and this will give you the flow chart that we've known from the past. There are 6 cards for each faction, and they are double-sided, so you'll just be following this along with using the tables here for the bot. This is said to be easier than the other bots in the other coin games, so I'm curious to check that out, because the bots are not something I've messed around with too much. So if they've been made easier and faster, definitely up for that. And we have our counter sheet, your standard control markers, active support, active oppose, and not a lot of counters, as I've said before. It's a kind of a thinner amount of counters from what the other coin games are, but from what I've read, the complexity is the same as the others. Then you have your protest and your overflow, and that's pretty much it for your counters. We have our bag of wood bits, nice cubes and embossed cylinders like we're used to for these coin games that use to mark control on the map. Our 4 dice, and we'll take a look real quick through the rule book so you can see what's inside that. And here are the rules for Gandhi. It is a 48-page rule book, but the rules only go from page 2 to page 25. The rest of it is for the non-player factions when you're playing with the bots. And then there's a bibliography, a setup, then the scenarios, key terms index, and the quick start guide and available forces that will flesh out the rest of the book. So about half the book is supporting material and scenarios. The other half is the rules themselves, and the rules start here on page 2 with the introduction, general course of play, your components, your map, your types of forces available, the Raj cubes, Congress and Muslim League activists, revolutionary guerrillas, Congress leaders, and your bases. For those who have played coin before, any of the coin games, you'll be familiar with this. Newcomers to the series, this is definitely something that you can pick up pretty easy. If you are a Euro gamer looking to get into war games, this is definitely a good series to test out, because you're going to feel very at home with the Euro feel that this has, but it is definitely a war game. Then you have your victory markers, protest markers, unrest markers, strike markers, campaign card marker. Then you get into your sequence of play here on page 7, and it explains the event cards, British Viceroy, campaign cards, operations, and how to handle those, which we've looked at on the player aid card. A couple of examples here on handling the Viceroy capabilities. More examples of play for that. Revolutionary operations with more illustrated examples. Special activities here on page 16. Good supporting illustrated examples. Congress special activities, Muslim League special activities, revolutionary special activities, all with good illustrated examples. And they get into your events, campaign rounds, and the redeploy phase, reset phase, unity, track, crisis, and then victory here on page 25. Then it starts into the non-player factions, explains how to use the bot, the Arjuna deck here that we took a quick look at. Space selection, move priorities tables, adversary priorities pieces table, NP operations, special activities. Then you get into the bibliography setup, and then we get to our scenarios. There is a short scenario from 1930 to 1947. The setup here, as well as the map image for you to assist in setting it up. Then you have the main, which is 1917 to 1947. Then we have the counter sheet manifest and the key terms index at the back of the book. And that is a look at the rulebook and the quick start guide here for the multiplayer game on the back cover. Now we'll take a look at the playbook. It is 52 pages. You have the tutorial starts on page 2, and it goes all the way up to page 20, where it starts with the non-player examples of play, faction interactions, guide to faction operations, event text and notes, and then the designer's notes on page 46, developer's notes, historical notes, the myths of nonviolence, and the pronunciation guide, credits and dedication at the back of the book. You have your tutorial here, and just like all the playbook tutorials for Coin, it's going to load up a deck for you, and then it's going to walk you through going step at a time with each card as to what all the factions are going to do. And if you've never played Coin, this is definitely a great way to get a feel for how the mechanics work. Now, all of the steps that are done are not optimal. They're not meant to be. They're meant to teach you how to play the game and get a feel for the mechanics. The only way you can really learn Coin is to sit down and play it. And honestly, I think the best way to learn it is sit down and play all 4 factions yourself. Just play a solitaire game and get a feel for what each action does, what each operation does, and how each faction is definitely different. This is very much asymmetric warfare in these games, and that's what Counter-Insurgency is all about. Non-player examples of play. Again, with the Arjuna deck, guide to faction operations, event text and notes. This goes into nice detail of what each card will do. So if you are kind of bored one day and you don't want to flip through the deck, you can actually read through the book and see what these are all about. Then you get into your designer's notes from Bruce Mansfield and developer's notes from Jason Carr, historical notes after that, and then the myths of nonviolence by Bruce Mansfield, the designer, and then the pronunciation guide at the back of the book, and then that's it. The credits and dedication are on the back cover. And that is a look at everything you get inside of Gandhi, the Decolonization of British India, 1917 to 1947, a game designed by Bruce Mansfield and published by GMT Games. It is just another great production from GMT with the Coin series. This thing just does not have an end in sight for it, which is a great thing. It started off one way and it just continues to grow and expand, and now into non-violence. So if you're a Coin fan, this is another game that you're probably going to definitely want to check out. I'm glad to have gotten a hold of it because I was curious how the non-violence portion of the game would work, in comparison to the other volumes in the Coin series. And I hope that helps you guys if you're curious about the game, see what's inside. And if you have any comments or questions, post them down below. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next time.